All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It feels like I was just here. Always good to be back. I love it being over here. I have such amazing conversations. There's a lot of talent over here. Not as much over North America, but that's why I'm here. I did fly in yesterday. Surprisingly doing pretty well. So we'll see where this goes. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to also ask me some questions at the end, because I know that there's tremendous change out there from a technology perspective. There's a lot of new stuff that's coming in. It's very easy to get lost, but we're going to try to reel it back to the basics. So. For the Tealium partners in here, for the Tealium customers in here, first, thank you for this. This has been a hell of a journey. This is 17 years for me that I've been running Tealium. Before that, I was in analytics, and I've been in this industry, probably as long as anybody. I was on the team that invented the Pixel. So I've been doing this quite some time. When I was growing up, this is not what I planned to do. I actually wanted to be a musician, and I actually am fortunate that I'm musically talented. And so I played in bands as a kid. I actually put myself through college playing blues and swing out, 6 nights a week. But then you realize there's not a lot of money in that. So I had to make a shift. But since then, I still love playing music. I play just about everything. I'm one of those guys, you just give me an hour and put an instrument in my hand, I can figure something out. So when COVID hit, I decided I wanted to buy a new guitar. But here's the other problem. I am left-handed, okay? So when you look at the ads for guitars, it's like, hey, righties, here's the 1,000 guitars you get to choose from. Lefties, pick one of these. And so those are the options. And so you get to a point where when you're young, you can afford just a crap guitar, but when you get old, you can afford a little bit more. And so I was very excited about finding a really nice guitar. And so I went on to the Fender website, and I found this guitar. I had this guitar built custom to my specs. I love it. It's a great guitar. But what I really loved was the Fender experience. I loved it so much, this happened. Okay? And I am a sucker for experiences out there. And I will say this, in the realm of data, whether it be AI, whether it be anything with data, we'll get back to the basics. Better experiences win. That's it. That's it. We have so many choices as customers these days. Hotel chains, airlines, Uber, Lyft, whatever. We have so many choices, more choices than we've ever had. And so when you think about the nature of your business, how do I keep customers with better experiences? How do I make my customer happy with better experiences? How do I turn them from an unhappy customer to a happy customer? Better experiences. This is all that it's about, putting the best experiences you possibly can in front of a customer, okay? From our perspective, we've always been on a journey with data, saying like we want to collect high quality customer data, and we want to bring it in and let you leverage it, not for the sake of analytics, still important, but for the sake of data activation, for the sake of understanding your customers. So let's talk about some of the challenges that we have. Data fragmentation. By show of hands, how many people out here would like to have a customer 360, a 360-degree view of their customer? I know you're not the only one. Everybody's being shy. Everybody wants it, right? Yeah, okay, let's just do this. Everybody raise your hands, okay? Let's just justify this shit. Okay, now, we're going to do a little math right now too. So you're working for a company, you've got a web property, you've got mobile, you can put your hand down. You're good. I saw you. You got web, you got mobile, and you got call center. Okay? We'll start with those. Those are the three main touch points. And you have really good insight on the web of what's going on with your customer. So let's do the math. Customer 120, that's what you're getting. Customer 120, that's the best you're going to do. If you don't have mobile tagged up, you can't get beyond the 120. If you don't have call center tagged up, you can't get beyond the 120, right? This is just simple math. If you want to understand your customers in their entirety, you have to tag up every place that you're using as touch point for your customers. And now let's think about it. You've got something on the web and you've got something on mobile and you've got the call center. We agreed that those are what you have. I come to the web, I'm probably in a pretty good mood. I go to the mobile app, I'm probably in a pretty good mood. But when I have to call into the call center, I'm not in a good mood. In fact, I'm relatively pissed that I have to call into the call center. And I'm certainly going to be pissed if I'm calling into the call center and you have no idea why I'm calling into the call center when I was just on the website or I was just within the mobile app. Okay? Does that make sense? Like if you want to understand your customers, I'm trying to get you guys to walk out of here with some serious FOMO on this, because I see a lot of companies that say, my number one initiative is to understand my customers. Awesome. What are your customer touch points? Web, mobile, and call center. Awesome. Which ones we tagged in? Web. Okay. What do you think is going to happen? We're not going to understand your customer. And we're not going to be able to put the best experience in front of them that we possibly can. Okay. Now, data absolutely needs to change. We've been on this journey at Tealium for a long time with changing data. When we came in, you would tag your websites with web analytics page code. You wouldn't tag up with business terminology page code. And so we're very focused on how do we tag up data in such a way that speaks to your business and not to the business of one of your vendors. And the reason why this is important is that your businesses by nature, your departments inside your business by nature are siloed. And the way we can de-silo your business is by bringing in data about your customers. Because if I start to understand, we have this customer that's coming in, this is how my team interacts with this customer, this is how another team interacts with it, data becomes the common language that we can share about the customers in this. It's how we can understand them. But more importantly, for those of you that have been in this industry for a while, going back to, I'll pick on Omniture or I'll pick on Google Analytics, we have something like Custom VAR 1 and Prop 3 and EVAR 6 and things like that. Don't make any sense to anybody, right? You need a decoder ring to be able to leverage those things. In this world of LLMs, LLMs can really do an excellent job of interpreting your data layer and understanding the data you're passing in, if you name it well. Order total, wow, so much better than ORD_123. An LLM's not gonna make any sense out of the second one. So strong naming for your data when you're collecting it is absolutely key. And this gets more complicated because we're gonna have to do this across web, mobile, and call center. Okay, maybe you include those names in the data that you're sending. I don't know. Maybe you pass in data that describes it as a web event, a mobile event, a call center event. I don't know, but these are the things that need to happen with data. And when I'm saying I don't know, I actually do know. You should fucking do it, okay? The other thing that is extremely valuable is you get into a situation where data coming into a system, if it gets typed into things like, this is a string, this is a metric, this is a number, this is a list, something like that, those are also things that are very beneficial from an LLM perspective. LLMs can make sense out of variables automatically that are well named and well typed. So right away, we're back to Tealium 101, which is data foundation. You guys want to do AI, you want to turn AI into ROI, it still is about the data foundation, high quality data. The last piece of this that I think is essential for businesses going forward, and I'm going to talk a lot more about a couple things, but it has to be customer centric. It has to be something that's centered around your customer. That's the reason why you're in business, is because you have customers. Now, when we talk about how you interact with your customers, how you target your customers, I'm gonna start dropping some knowledge now. Okay, there's two types of experiences that you can have with your customers. There's engagement experiences, and these are going to include email, SMS, social, but things that I want to try to nurture the conversation with my customer and say, like, you're not at my website, I want to bring you back, but you have engagement conversations. You also will have conversational experiences. And those are things that happen in real time. And you're going to do both, and you need systems that allow you to do both. There are going to be times where you're going to say, I have to go and find my customers that bought a Keurig machine in the last 6 months, but haven't bought K-Cups in the last 2 weeks. I need to put an engagement experience in front of them because I want to bring them back. I want to get them to buy more stuff. Or I have somebody that's on the website right now and I understand what they're trying to do. I want to put a conversational experience in front of them. I'll actually concede, I think that we have very much focused, Tealium has very much focused on the conversational experience side of things, that I don't think some of the tooling that we've built for the engagement type experiences has been strong enough. And so we're building out some new tools around that. We're in early access right now with our zero copy capability. I think that's important for people to know. If zero copy, if you don't understand what that is, basically what that is the ability to not necessarily have data in Tealium, but having data in a customer data warehouse like Snowflake or Databricks or BigQuery or Azure and saying, I want to activate this data directly out of my CDW. So with very soon, you'll be able to write a query, or you'll be able to visually go through a drag and drop interface that'll be able to help you figure out the data in your CDW and retrieve it and activate it through our activation capabilities. Now, when does this become valuable? Really in the early stages of being a Tealium customer, but also for the business users that are very much in that engagement experience mindset, right? All of your email marketers, your social marketers, they very much are in that engagement mindset. These are going to be better tools that are going to allow you to do those things. Data must be more customer-centric. How many people have heard of our zero-party capability? You guys don't raise your hands. I got to stop doing this. So we've seen with the DMPs that the third-party data is no bueno. Second-party data, I think, is suspect most of the time, to be honest with you. And people have come to the realization, they say first-party is where it's at. I agree. Zero-party adds on top of it, which is the ability to ask a customer a question in that moment. Why are you here? It's for a travel site. Are you here to book, or are you here to research? And I may take action based on that answer. If you're here to book, guess what? I'm not going to throw a bunch of advertisements in front of you because you're here to book and I think that you mean business and you want to get through this process as quick and painlessly as you can. If you're here to research, then I'm going to get the booking engine out of the way and I'm going to start showing you vacation offerings and I'm going to change the experience around on that. The important part about this is we're going to ask the customers directly this question. So it's not a survey. It's not a how do we do last week, or can you improve my review? It's basically a 1 or 2 question pop-up that asks some people some questions. Why are you here? Can I help you with something? Whatever it is. Software should be making the world more efficient. So how do we get that into our customer experience? The thing that I think is very important about it is that when you start asking these questions, assuming some people will answer, we're going to start getting very deterministic answers that talk about what the intent is for our customers at that moment. Now, what we can start to do is then we can start taking a look at their journey and comparing it against other customers and say, this guy didn't answer the question, but this is what he's looking for. Why? Because his journey looks a lot alike this other person that did answer the question. So if you're not looking into zero copy yet, I think it's another hook in there that's very deterministic in nature. A lot of what you're going to do from an AI front is going to be more probabilistic in nature, where you're kind of inferring and saying, like, I think this is what the intent is. I think this is what the propensity is. But zero copy gives us that ability to get a deterministic answer in that workflow, which also reinforces that AI output, because it gives us that correct score that we need. We talk about a CDP. We talk about where it fits into your customer data architecture. We do play along the customer data warehouse. Some of you have heard me say this before. It's like hard drive and RAM. Your CDW is your hard drive and your CDP is your RAM. It's that sort of hot cache for storing visitors so we can interact with them in real time. But now the question we get into is around those two places, where should I start to do some of the actions, some of the audiencing? Zero copy is going to help us with that. But when we start talking about AI, people are saying, well, where should I run my AI? Listen, you run AI wherever you have the data. That's the reality. But you're going to run some AI on the cloud data warehouse side of things to try to understand more of your lifetime insights. And running AI in your CDP is going to give you more insight into your real-time side of things. We had a customer come up at one of our Digital Velocity conferences that said they started to analyze the last 12 years of behavior that they had about a customer. And what they found was the activity of the last 30 seconds was far more predictable than the previous 12 years. And think about that. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So when you start thinking about the experiences, you think, do I want to understand the lifetime of a customer to understand what the next best experience should be? Or do I want to understand the recency of a customer to understand what the next best experience should be? Think about Netflix. We've all been customers of Netflix for what, a decade? 2 decades, maybe? Probably not 2 decades, but like 10, 15 years? Could you imagine if Netflix started giving us, I always say Netflix. That's the cereal I'm going to create. Netflix. If Netflix started giving me recommendations based on what I watched 10 years ago versus what I watched 10 days ago, right? Probably very different. Maybe not, but should be. But so the idea is that when we start talking about customer centricity, I'm also talking about data recency on this as well. Like we all have ADHD now. We all get distracted. We all run around and try to do 100 things at once. We've got more technology at our fingertips than ever. We've got more automation solving all of our problems, but we've never been busier, right? We've never felt more on the hook all the time. And so the idea is when you're dealing with customers, I don't like these websites where I come up and the first thing they say is, give me your email address. I think if you could close me, you would get my email address, but clearly you don't think you can close me. But that's not the conversation that people want to have. I'm coming to you as a brand with a conversation. I want to have a conversation. And all you're telling me is, put your conversation on hold and I'll get back to you when I'm ready. And I don't think that that's an experience that wins. I think if you can figure out how to be conversational in the moment with your customers, then that is what's going to win. As we go through this, you don't just wake up and say, you know what? I've never played guitar before, but maybe I'll play Panama by Van Halen this morning, right? You just don't do that. Some of you may be lucky enough to wake up and decide, hey, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to do a triathlon. I don't think I'd ever be in the shape to do a triathlon unless it was car, motorcycle, e-bike. But this is a progress versus perfection scenario here with what you're doing with customer data. It's not something where you're just going to wake up and nail it and you're going to be perfect. When we're talking to companies, our most successful companies, and this gets exacerbated with AI, you need a center of excellence. You need a group that starts to talk to people. Because as these barriers start to come down where you can say, now I can define an audience, it's much easier now because my data is well organized. And it's very easy for me to activate an audience. Awesome. A lot of times I'm dealing with companies that they have a new customer show up on the doorstep and they get an email address, and all of a sudden every single person at this table that runs a different business unit within my organization thinks target, 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 right? And so now the other thing we're going to get to is we're going to get to offer fatigue and target fatigue for customers, right? This is where it becomes even more challenging. And so you start getting into where you need a center of excellence. And now with this AI world, you have to have somebody on there from an AI perspective. Okay. The other thing that you would need, and we're making this available to our customers. I was going to call it something different, but we'll use the PG version. We'll call it screw around volume. But the idea with this is that a lot of you have volume that you've purchased for Tealium, and a lot of you are very protective of that volume, which you should be, right? Nobody wants to go into overages. But we are providing the capability to do what we call screw around volume, which is come to us, talk to your account manager. Let's talk about use cases. Let's talk about use cases you want to roll out. We will grant you guys test volume to go out there and start playing around. If this is, I want to bring in 75 million records from Salesforce and see what that does to my audience capabilities, perfect. We'll give you guys 100 million events. Throw it out there. We'll let you do it. Maybe several iterations. Please leverage us for that. Because again, this is how the major clouds do it. They want to get you to try new capabilities in the platform, but I don't necessarily want to burn it, on my own dime all the time. We'll burn that dime for you guys. Okay? I'm going to open it up to some questions because I think that's the best way we can move information. But you guys didn't raise your hands. So if nobody asks a question, then Tealium employees, you guys have to ask me a question. I'm going to leave it on this slide. Listen, there's no magic to if you use Claude, then you're going to do that much better. There's no magic to this. This is about a strong data foundation. This is about customer centricity. This is about putting you into a situation where you say, this is what my customers are going to want. So this is what we have to deliver. And this is how you build long-term relationship with your customers. But I'll start, nobody's going to ask me a question, are they? I can tell. Yes?
Mike, the title of your talk is Inside the CTO's Mindset.
Yes.
So I'm interested to understand, as a CTO, what is your mindset in terms of structuring or kind of setting a strategy using AI?
So it's a good question. The first thing that I've seen is that when we were selling these capabilities 10 years ago, it was always the marketer that came to the table. They always had the burning use cases that we need to solve. In the last couple years, it's been the whole business that's coming to the table. Actually, marketers are actually getting edged out a little bit, to be totally honest with you. They've had this opportunity, they've kind of had this window of a number of years where nobody else was really paying attention to them bringing in customer data and starting to activate that customer data. Now you have a lot of compliance, a lot of chief analytics officers, chief data officers, chief technology officers that are coming to the table, and what they want is data collection at scale that's clean, it's consented, keeps them out of jail, but that's all really that they're worried about. They're not overly worried about what the marketer does with that downstream. Now, from an AI perspective, this is where I think the center of excellence is a really, really big deal. One, you first have to have some AI people that think like entrepreneurs. That's a big one. And if you don't have that, go find that, right? Having a data scientist that just says, hey, I can analyze data until the cows come home, that's great. You gotta have somebody up above that's setting the strategy from an AI perspective. Otherwise, it's just the wild, wild west. So if you don't have that, go get that person, right? Go get that person that's gonna oversee the AI capability. And then the other thing that you wanna do is you wanna make sure that that person understands there's probably pockets of AI that are happening inside the business. That person almost needs to be aware of kind of all that stuff. I know this is becomes kind of a tall order, but at least on the customer data side of things, which is where we're talking now. But this is really where that center of excellence comes in. And in that center of excellence, this is where the marketers have to say, this is what we're trying to do. And the technology folks or the data pipeline folks are saying, this is what we're trying to do. And the AI people are hopefully listening more and saying, this is how we can help. this is what we should do. When you start to have that center of excellence, the next thing that I would say that you do is you start to have workshops or hackathons internally. And please include us, right, on some of these things, especially, well, definitely if you're running Tealium, but to include your partners more on some of these hackathons and some of these inside initiatives. Because again, we can help you give guidance around these are the things that we're seeing in the industry, and these are the things that are challenging your competitors. And so these are probably things that you guys need to work on. But I really can't say enough, the customers that we have that are amazingly successful, they have a center of excellence internally. And we have, from a business perspective, speaking transparently, we have a reverse bell curve of customers, right? People talk about crawl, walk, run, but if you sit with me, it's crawl, want to walk, want to run, and run. And the challenge is that we have a lot of customers that are on the crawl side, and then we have some customers that I can't believe they figured out how to do what they're doing with this platform, right? They're so far on the run side of things that they're doing. But every single one of them always has a center of excellence. And that, I think, is because your business is already too siloed. I mean, I don't even our business is siloed with the way that we do things. But the idea is you have to break that down, because otherwise it's just going to be a situation where you've made data more deliverable, and then everybody's going to interpret it the way that they do. Everybody's going to go work with it the way that they are. But you have to bring the AI people into the mix and let them sit on that center of excellence. It's not a great answer.
No,
it's a people problem.
No, it's good, and I will definitely take up your advice around getting yourself involved in this. So James, I'm sure, where is it?
I'm sure he will. I think he may have already this morning, actually. But yes, yeah, and again, this is when I talk to CTOs that come in and they're like doing the final sign off on the technology. The advice I give them is, look, I know this software better than you do, but better than a lot of people do. And I've got a pretty good idea what your job is. Your question to me should be, Mike, if you had my job for 4 weeks, what would you do, right? Leverage us on that front, right? This is a very talented team over here in EMEA. It's always been the gold standard from day one within Tealium. Leverage us. I'm a big proponent of workshops, hackathons, anything, and I will absolutely participate in these things, right? Because this is all, the technology is there. The technology can do more than we're doing with it right now. It's now the people challenge. Okay? Yes, sir.
Exactly what you just said about the people challenge. I think the next step, and what I'm trying to understand is from Tealium's perspective in terms of a roadmap. If you get the pipeline in from getting data in for AI agents, what's the next step? Because the agents can kind of provide insight, do analysis, but that action part, is that something that whole part of enrichment is one of the things you guys are looking at?
Thank you, my friend. He's trying to get on my good side, on my really good side. I told my team that by this time next year, I don't want my customers building attributes. I don't want my customers building rules. I don't want my customers building audiences. I don't want my customers setting up activations. I don't want to do that. We talk about the data supply chain. We have data sources, data collection, identity, transformations, functions, through to audiences, through to activation, and then through to a business outcome. I want to reverse that. I want customers to walk in and say, this is my business outcome. And the tool will just say, awesome. I'm going to create these 3 attributes for you. I'm going to create this audience for you. I'm going to create these 2 rules for you, right? We will be in a situation where agentic will be doing this for you. That's where I want. By this time next year, by the time I get on stage for DV next year, you will walk in and just via voice go in and talk about what you want to do from a business outcome, and all of the underlying attributes, all of the nuts and bolts will be handled for you. Imagine if you went and bought that box of Lego and you just put it on your desk and say, build it. And the Lego just all of a sudden shows up, right? That's what we're going to do. And when we talk about some of our analytics partners, the idea is the next gen on this is taking the business outcome and turning that into audience configuration, rules configuration, activation configuration. But then having some of the agentic capabilities look at the trailing reports from yesterday or the last week and start to look at the reports and say, now I need to make adjustments to how we define those audiences. Now I need to make adjustments on how we define the activations because conversions are down and I want them to go back up. Those are what we're going to be looking at by this time next year. From a roadmap perspective, very much you're going to see us get cozied up with the CDWs. You're going to see more of this zero copy capability. You're going to see more of this engagement experience data coming out of the CDW and conversational experience coming out of the CDP, which is where it should be, hard drive, RAM kind of thing. We're still going to be very focused on the real-time side of things. And you're going to see we've got an excellent strategy around the call center front about how we can understand your customers better. That's it. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm really thankful to be here. And I'll be here the rest of the day.